Okay, I'm going to shoot a video to try and go over this Virginia Land Deals website. I have it pulled up and I'm logged into the back office. So the first thing is Dan was able to forward me the email that you had sent, I guess, with some of the work you had looked at to try and change a few things on the website to make the search function, whenever we go and do a property search, to actually display the properties all on one web page, or one page, I guess. So the first thing is, I guess to address your email, the first thing I want to point out is at the bottom of your email about the home page. It says, I noticed on the home page almost all the properties of the site are on the home page, and you trim those back. I have changed that back to where we want it, which is 75. And we're doing that on purpose. So the bottom of your email, we can just forget about the home page. The home page I'm happy with, that's where we want it. So I changed that back so that now we have all the properties up to 75 back on the home page. And so at this point, we can forget about that being an issue. We're happy with that. That's good to go. So I've changed that back on virginialanddeals.com, so there's no need to go in there and change that again. So we've got all the properties that we want on the homepage. Okay, so that part, we can basically just forget about at this point. That's done. What I did as well is I changed for this part where you put in some information about what you had changed. I changed this back to the original settings so I can show you the issue we're having when you change these. So step one, the home page we'll just leave alone. There's no need to change that. So basically, in essence, what I changed, other than the home page, I changed these portions back to the original settings we had on the page before you did these changes, so I could show you what the issue is. So basically, Virginia Land Deals is back to scratch where we were from the beginning. So basically, we have all the properties we want on the home page, all the way down. Which is exactly what we want. And on the available properties, page, I've changed both of these settings that you set to 30. I changed those back to 10 on Virginia Land Deals, which is where they originally set. So when you scroll on available properties page, you hit the second page, and you get the rest of the properties that are available. So basically, Virginia Land Deals is back to where we were. So the issue we're having is when you do a search by price, whatever the search is, usually it's by price or acres, that what we're getting is, instead of all the properties displaying on one page, you have multiple pages where you have to click. You might have one property on one page, two on the next, and then another two on the next as well, or just one. Just depends, instead of just having all of them on one page. The other thing I've noticed too is that some of them are displaying twice. So for instance, this 19,900, the 1.29 acres Lakewood Drive is on page 1, but if you click page 2, it's also on page 2. I'm not sure why that's happening now either. So that's something that's new, that I'm not sure why that's happening. So I guess this goes back to fixing this whole issue with these searches. One, getting them all on the same page, but now they're displaying, a couple properties are displaying multiple times. So back to your email, where if you change these settings, I'm going to do the first one, is the Genesis. I've changed this back to 10, which was the original setting that it was on when the website was done. So if I go into the dashboard, I go to Genesis, I go to theme settings, which is where I am. I scroll down to number of posts, which is basically right here, Genesis theme settings, number of posts. You change that to 30, and I originally changed it back to 10. So if I do that and I change this to 30, I'm just going to show you, and I save. I go back to Virginia Land Deals, I refresh it. I go to the home page. The home page shouldn't have changed at all. So we're good on that. Obviously that's not going to affect it once I change the Genesis area. I go to the available properties. Available properties are still all on there. They look good. I scroll down. I get a page 2. And the properties are still on there. It doesn't change the available properties to display all on one page when you change it to 30. And in addition, when I do a price search 11 to 20, I still have the same issue where I have 2 properties on one page. I click another again, we have this duplicate one. I don't know why that's happening. Have another couple properties, and then we have one to close it out. So it seems to me that when you go into this Genesis and do the theme settings and change it to 30, that's not really affecting or changing the site at all. So I'm going to change that back to 10 and save it. Not sure what that changes, if anything. So just going to verify, put that back to 10. Okay, that's a 10. Okay, I'm going to go back to your email. This is the main thing I wanted to point out. So when you go to dashboard, settings, readings, so I'm going to go to there. So keep in mind the home page is set. That looks good right now. We're back to basically square one before you started making changes on the site. Home page looks good. The available properties looks good. We've got all the properties on there, and then if I click page 2, that's on there. So the available properties looks good. What's still lacking is the issue with when you do a property search, having the not all on the same page, and now in addition we're having a duplicate of properties. When I click page 2, we have this same 1.29 acres. So okay, so basically what I discovered in your email is if I go to dashboard settings and readings, go in dashboard, I'm going to go down to settings and I'm going to click readings or reading, and I change blog post to show 30, which is what you changed originally, and I'm going to change it back. I'm going to save those changes. So I'm here right now. You changed it to 30 and I changed it back to 10. We're going back to 30 to make the change that you made. And I'll refresh this, Virginia Land Deals. The home page still is fine, so that does not affect the home page at all. Now, if I go to available properties, the issue we're having is once you change this and you change it to 30 as opposed to 10, one, it doesn't display all 30, if there are 30 properties, which are not, but if there, it doesn't display everything on the home page. We only have 10 on this first page. So if I scroll up and I clicked on available properties tab, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now when I changed it from 10 to 30, if I go to hit the second page, it gives me this error. So the other available properties that are on the site, nobody can find when we change this dashboard setting reading blog posts from 10 to 30. But when we do a price search, that actually fixes the price search issue. All the properties are now displaying on one page. So I guess the point of this video is it has to do something obviously with this dashboard settings, readings, blog post at most, and you click it to 30, then all the properties when you do a price search are all on one page. The home page is good at this point. I can do acres. Everything is all now displaying on one page. There are no duplicates when you do that either. So I'm going to do one more just to test. So everything's showing up on one page for the actual property search when we change this dashboard settings, readings, blog post to 30. So in the dashboard settings, readings, I changed it to 30, and the home page is good, and now the property search is good. But what has changed is now when you go into available properties, you scroll down and you actually only get 10 on available properties page, and if you scroll to the next page, it gives you an error. So I don't know whether there's another place within the dashboard that controls, like we changed the number of posts, that controls this available properties page. But for whatever reason, when you change this blog post settings, readings, and blog post to 30, that fixes our property search dilemma that I guess we're having. That is now fixed, but what changes is the available properties is no longer functioning properly. So if I change this back to 10, I save it, I go back to refreshing this, I'm on available properties. Now if I hit 2, it will list the rest of the properties that are available, but then it breaks the fact that you can't do a property search and have everything show up all on one page, and it's duplicating certain properties now for whatever reason when you see this up here. So I guess the biggest point of the video is it's got to do something with this dashboard settings, readings, and posts, because that fixes, when you change that to 30, that actually fixes when you do the property search, but it doesn't, it breaks this available properties page. When you click on available properties, it will break this where you can't see the available properties. So my question is, if we leave it at 30, that's great because that fixes the property search, but is there another place within the back office to change the settings for available properties, and maybe that's where we can finalize this and get this squared away? And then my last question is, I don't really understand this stuff up here, in particular this part where you say if you set the widget to only search for numbers, it'll display like so. Did you change something with this widget to display numbers that I don't know in the back office, and that's why it's displaying this property search whenever we do it, and it's now displaying the duplicates of this particular property? So hopefully this video helps. I guess at this point obviously we want to get this fixed, because if we change one thing, it fixes the property search function, but it breaks available properties. So there's got to be, hopefully that will help. Okay,